Welcome to the Outstanding Shift podcast with your host, Andrew Evans from Rosby Financial. I'm your producer, RJ Malik. Andrew, how are you?
Good, RJ.
Good. So what do you got going on for this podcast? It's sort of like part 2.
Yes, this is the Outstanding Shift featuring the Seeds crew, part 2, Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you going to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, I'll elaborate to the humor of it is that I felt that, like, no matter what, you could take any sequel to any movie, and if you put, Judgment Day at the end of it, it really makes it really turns up the sauce, as it were. It makes it heat, it makes it evil, and something's great or something spooky. So this is it.
Judgment Day. Why don't you introduce your guests and take it away?
Absolutely. So here again, we have with us the great gang from Seeds, Zach Conway and Kelsey McKenna. Last time we got together, we talked about the problems. Like, why are we getting it so wrong about client engagement or investment management in the financial services world? And we said, well, let's do another one and let's dig in a little bit more as to how we combat that. So I still have my regular Outstanding Shift tough question. But Zach, Kelsey, welcome back. And this time you'll notice I went back with my regular glasses. My beard has grown out more because we will bring it back to get the mustache back. Everybody has demanded mustache.
I was wondering in general if in part 2 we needed to establish continuity in haircuts and beards and outfits, but we went the other direction. I shaved also.
Yeah.
So
well, if you think about it now Kelsey shaved.
Yeah,
good job.
you.
Did you dermaplane?
I dermaplane for this. I knew you guys would notice.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I could tell. But like continuity though, Zach, for these episodes is that what we're trying to do is move out of episodic with the Outstanding Shift, and we want to have that total season narrative that all the shows on Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus do. So, but here we are.
I like it. It's like Lost.
Exactly. So, before we kick off with that, the question, any cool updates? Anything happening at Seeds you'd love to tell your folk about? Anything awesome?
I don't know. We have so many product updates
Kelsey?
going out. There's a million little things like that. But I guess for these purposes, we'll be at a few conferences coming up. We could shout that out. We'll be at RA.
Yeah, let's shout it out.
Wealth Management Edge. I know you'll be there too. Andrew. Zach's doing ETF.com, like the virtual breakthrough conference thing, whatever that's called, the new one. So we're going to be, throughout the rest of the next few months, we'll be at a few events. So if anyone's going to be there.
Yeah, so that's till June. So when's RA
Edge is next week. So this won't even be out, so ignore this, but hopefully you saw us there.
Well, that's okay. Then everybody will have FOMO.
Is June too, right, Zach? Yeah.
I think that's right. Yep, I think that's
okay.
June.
And then Wealth Management Edge is June 9th, the week of June 9th. The week of June.
For sure.
That sounds right.
Let's go with that.
Something like that.
Let's go with that. And if our friends over at Informa that run it want to correct us, we are always accepting sponsorship opportunities here at Seeds and at the Outstanding Shift. So there you go. Okay, cool. So everybody could come and hang out with you, see you virtually and or face to face. It's going to be fun on a bun. All right, guys. So let's ask the question. So we were before talking about why they're getting it wrong, but let's say it like this. Why are we so bad? I'm kind of stretching for this one because, again, your program is really solid. But why are we so bad at that data collection level to even possibly provide the absolute best outcomes for our clients? I know that there's your softball. A little bit more softball on the. See, usually part 2 is the down ending, like Empire Strikes Back and so forth, but not this one. We're going to leave it on an up.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like Judgment Day. Yeah. This is easy. All right. Well, I think like last time, Kelsey, maybe I'll do mine and then we'll compare and contrast our answers here. I think we talk a lot about advisors do understand that a better understanding of an investor is by default a good idea, because it can lead to better conversations, and that investor really valuing the fact that that advisor is willing to understand these things and understand them beyond, a typical sort of risk tolerance output of who they are as an investor. But the problem is, if you ask the questions and hear the answers, then you have to do something about the answers. And if you don't have a framework to do something about the answers, you're not going to ask the questions. So to be specific, as an investor, how you think about your participation in the process of investing might be a good thing to know as an advisor. It might be a good thing to know, especially in our fun geopolitical world we live in, how people think about bringing values to life in their portfolio, or if that's important to them or not important to them. And if it is, how so? Thematic areas of the market, different, more specific nuances on the financial side related to tax situation, and all these different elements. There's a lot of stuff you could know about an investor, but again, you can't ask if you can't do something about the answers. What would you do if they said, for example, yeah, I don't want to own that stuff because I can't stand thinking about funding these things and what these companies are doing and so on. And if you have this nuanced tax situation, then how am I going to deal with that? What is that going to look like in the form of a portfolio outcome? All these different areas. So anyway, I can't ask if I don't have a game plan as to what I'm going to do with the answers.
I'll
That's
add
good.
to that. I don't know. I think that's what I would have said, and so I'll just add on to say there's also the it's kind of a sub question to what your question is, Andrew, which is like, you may know a lot. There's a lot of firms that actually do really deep discovery. Like if you think of the planning process, there's a lot of discovery there. It's just they're not applying the what they're doing in that discovery to the investment side of the business or to that part of the offering. They're kind of like treating, and this goes back to what we were saying last time, they're treating the planning discovery is kind of like, I want a comprehensive understanding of you as a person and like what you value and who's in your life and why and what you want to achieve. And they have all of that understanding. And so the customer does feel known in that way. A lot of really great advisors are really great at doing that. It's just then there's this kind of like static output on this side of the business, which is actually where the fee is charged most of the time. And so there's just not that connection because again, you don't have the operational like capacity to be able to offer that much flexibility. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, I feel like what we experience in this industry. This is not like as a fault. It's just how I'm trying to compartmentalize this. It's almost like there's a higher percentage of advisors and or let's just say advisory firms, not the entity, but maybe the individual that suffer from a lot of Dunning-Kruger effect. That, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I saw your face there, and you might know people that suffer from this, is that they know this much, but they think they know this much, right? Say so, and it's like that to a point where advisors will say to like, Zach, well, I know what questions to ask. Well, I know what to ask. Yes. Then what? Or the reverse of it is like, I know what it takes to run a portfolio. Sure, but you know nothing about that person. You know nothing about them. So it's like there's always this balance of, well, where do you fall in the spectrum? You either know everything, about how to like run what you do, or you know nothing. And you know everything about the person, but you can't do anything with it, or you can't do enough. With a wrapper on that, I'll say this for everybody: is that I think any compliance officer will tell you, "Boy, we want you to do absolutely both perfectly," but we're human, and sometimes that doesn't happen. And so I'd say that there has to be a balance there also, that you don't take away a human element of it to say, well, no, if you just ask these questions, you specifically have to do these things, and then you have to then invest this way. Well, you're actually going to kill that relationship, because now you're just, here's your burger, and we make the burger exactly the same way for everybody. So eat it or don't, we don't care.
I think that's part of, we get that feedback sometimes when we talk about this broader slash more nuanced and in the weeds way of understanding an investor. An advisor will say, I do that. I do really go get in the weeds and understand how they think about these things across financial inputs and behavioral inputs about investing and values and preferences inputs. And they have some system then to take those inputs and try to come up with what, hey, this client should have in their IRA and their taxable account, and how they're going to fund those accounts, and what are the investment solutions within them, and so on. But the framework isn't scalable. So the framework exists, but they can't repeat it. And certainly another advisor joining their firm can't repeat it, right? So sure, maybe you can qualitatively get all those inputs through discussion in your discovery process. And maybe you can then take them and go into a system and like manually create these personalization layers on top of your like 4 core models. But there's no way that's something you can do at scale.
Okay, so I'll chime in here, but I'll actually kick this over to Kelsey. Let's say it like this too. But what you're talking about there, I think people will mistake for operation workflows. They're gonna hear what you just said. Oh, well, I have workflows that I built in Redtail, so we know what to do. But that's very different, wouldn't you? And Kelsey, that's just different. There's how do I move data to program to form is very different than hopes, needs, wants, dreams, interests, concerns of a client into their financial future.
I mean, workflows are critically important to doing any of this, of course. I think for sure, like you need to have that end step of how do we actually execute this effectively, whatever this is. I think the gap we see the most is, what is this? What are we doing? And that this is usually in the brain of the founding advisor or the lead advisor, and is not something that they can even describe to people like me and Zach. So when they talk about growth and they say, we like the story we tell, our clients appreciate it, we like the experience we deliver, we think it's really valuable, it's definitely worth the 1%, it starts to break down as they start to bring on additional advisors, as Zach was saying, because it's in their head and they don't even know it's in their head. To them, it's obvious, which is a common thing. And it's very normal. It's the same with founders of any company. It's not specific to this industry. Things that seem obvious to the founder who kind of set the vision to begin with are not obvious to other people on the team. You can't just hire into a vision. You have to take it to the next step of saying, okay, how is this experience being delivered by me today? And how can I translate that to people who are going to take over parts of this process? And that's where Seeds tries to come in, whether you're using our models or your own models or our framework or some framework we're helping you kind of co-design using our system to implement it. Either way, the framework is what's critically important to being able to first repeat what you're already doing as one person, and then to further scale it and layer additional tech and team and process and workflows into it. So I think that's how I would connect it. The workflows still, of course, matter, but most firms have to have workflows to do day-to-day business. It's just there's a missing layer on top of that kicks off the right workflows.
That psychology, though, is so strong, where that founder advisor really fully believes, because it is partially true, that the perception of the value is coming from that qualitative thing in their head, right? Their ability to ask all the questions, make the client feel heard and understood, their logic in their head of connecting the dots to what is this portfolio I'm going to provide and talk about and propose to them, and then whatever that system is for implementation. But so when they hear like, let's put that on the rails, or let's actually systematize that where it can be repeatable with other advisors in your business, the sort of emotional response is, oh, then the experience and the value is going to be diminished. And so trying to convey that it's actually the opposite, that both should be true at the same time, right? Like you should not be diminishing the perception of value or that experience to the client. In fact, we think if you put it on the rails, you can enhance it, because as humans, hey, we're only so good at this, sort of finger in the wind. I just had a conversation with a prospect and asked all these questions, and now I'm just going to sort of come up with what I think the portfolio output should be. There is there's logic in there. And so if you actually just build the logic and build the logic more completely, again, you're not going to take away from the perception of value. You could enhance it, make it more personalized, and also allow other people in your firm to deliver the same thing. So we're always beating that drum. Both should be true. Both things are true. You can scale it and have the experience.
And this is like fundamental to
time.
creating real value in your firm. And I talk about this with a lot of like founding advisors who are hesitant on this. Like, it is true that there's a risk that you could over systematize something to the point where you suck all the humanity out of it, right? And getting customer feedback along the way is so important to this process, because you want to understand which human moments are driving the value and which moments are not. Because at the beginning, everything is a human moment. Everything is a human decision. So the goal is to take the things that are not driving that value and create a framework and then a system around it. You know what I mean? So that the firm doesn't, the firm is not you. The value of your firm should not be you. If you removed you, would it still function? Could you still acquire customers? Could you still service those customers? That's the question. And that's what you should be aiming at eventually.
So Kelsey, talk us through how you actually do. So new advisor shows up, Andrew Evans shows up, says, hey, I really want to use Seeds. I've heard so much. Okay. And I have operational systems already operational. Like I've got, this admin, I'm using this program, I'm on Altruist or Schwab. That is no endorsement of any one thing over the other. Compliance. Everybody do your own due diligence. Okay. But then they come to you and say, okay, now you help get me out of it, get it out of my head. How are you guys helping that advisor or team get it out of their head? And I love that concept because I suffer with that every day, that people ask me a question and, like I do, and they go, yeah, but how do I do it? I'm like, you just do it. You just do it. So that's important.
Yeah.
So how do you help them get it out of the head?
I mean, there's a lot there. We'll narrow in on specifically.
You don't have to do. Remember, we're doing a couple of these.
So we'll start.
We could just be our podcast forever now.
Let's all do a podcast. Bring it back here.
It.
So definitely doing it. First of all, there's a prerequisite to all of this, which is, do your customers actually think that you're doing it as well as you are? Because I've run into this before too. People talk about organic growth, right?
Ouch.
So people will come to us and be like, yes, it's amazing. It's amazing. And we'll say, okay, that's amazing. That's awesome. We want to hear about it. Walk us through. This client comes in with this profile, right? This request, this situation. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And if they can't even articulate it, for me, what goes off in my head is, how is the client experiencing that? How does it feel to the client? And in this industry, we really lean away from feelings, but I really think we should lean into feelings, and not our own personal feelings, although I also believe that, but the feelings of our clients. What are our clients feeling as they are moving through this process? Do they feel the chaos that's happening internally at the firm? Do they feel that this is just me, that this is just my magic, that's all about me? Like, what are they actually feeling and experiencing while they're going through it? That's what goes off in my head. So I think that's the first thing to call out, is actually ask your customers, and don't ask customers that you don't like. Ask customers that you want to repeat. So who are the customers in your book or in your company that you're like, these are my best customers. I want more of these customers. Go to those customers and say, hey, when we worked together early on, what stood out to you? What really made you decide to go with me? What didn't feel good, right? The other thing I always recommend,
but for everybody, if you want to go back in time, go back to episode 2 of The Outstanding Shift, where I had my my lovely wife, Lindsay Evans, who is now the COO over here at Rosby Financial, just FYI. She talked about, with her years of time in product development and so forth, she directly talks about that, is get the whys behind the whys, how to dig deeper, how to figure out why exactly does that client do X, or why did that client do these things with you. So just quick plug for everybody. Go back, re-register, subscribe, go back, listen to more episodes. Yeah. Okay, and go.
I'm gonna, or Kelsey, did you finish your thought? I want to, because I'm adding basically just an example I heard yesterday or the day before on this exact point about, as an advisor, if you're saying it's great, it's amazing, but your metric is just that you got the client to say yes, is not a good measurement. the conversation I had was someone who was skeptical about hiring a financial advisor for years, worked actually in wealth tech, and then had the founder of this company recommend a financial advisor. And he's like, if the founder of this company is recommending this advisor, this person's got to be the best person, and I should trust who this person is. And the investing experience and early onboarding and the sort of process was a risk tolerance questionnaire. And the output of that risk tolerance questionnaire was the determiner, help determine, here's this, of the 6 models we have at our firm, you're number 5 or 4, whatever. And that was the experience around investment discovery, portfolio selection, discussion. This is it. You've got your one account so far. This is what the allocation is. That's it. That's my understanding of you. And that's what you're going in. Jump cut to 5 years later, he's still a client of that advisor, but it's like a ship in the ocean, right? He's still thinking about that moment 5 years ago of that's how you understood me as an investor. And by the way, I don't think you put me in the right portfolio. I'm 30 something years old. It was too conservative because it was based on my emotional tolerance to take risk and wasn't really a goals-based conversation. He didn't ask me about my values. In this political climate right now, I'm really looking at my portfolio and and all of a sudden I'm realizing I own all this stuff I shouldn't actually own that I despise. And it's 5 years later. So just because, and if that advisor were to report to us, they would probably say, yeah, it's a great relationship. They love the experience. I can't stress enough, as now the 3 of us have just stressed, this is so common. The bar should not be that the client said yes. Someone using our platform could win that client tomorrow, right? Because that's not the perceived value from 5 years ago is not the thing that's going to keep them. So yeah, I think that's a critical thing. Andrew, back to your question, just to touch on, you asked about like, what do we audit specifically when we go into firms? It is that input process. What do you ask? What do you actually capture when you meet with a prospect for the first time? What is your version of the experience I just described with that one person? And what's your lineup of outputs? What do you have? Do you have 6 models? Do you have 600 models? Do you use a bunch of random SMA solutions mixed with models? Do you never do tax loss harvesting? Do you sometimes do tax loss harvesting? What are the things and edge cases that you actually have the operational capabilities of delivering, and what is the random stuff you shouldn't have? And then lastly, show us how they connect together. If that person, like I just used that example, walked in your door and you did the inputs as you described them, what would they map to? What would be in their IRA account? What would be in their taxable account? What would be the funding strategy? What are the building blocks? What is the trading process? And 99 times out of 100, they can't connect those dots clearly and consistently, right? It is a art in their head of, well, I might do it this way and maybe I'll do it this way a little bit. And then,
but the reason we ask that is because of what Zach said, just to like be clear. If you can't explain it to people like us who talk about this all day, then it's, even if you're asking the right questions and you deeply understand them, it's very unlikely that you're connecting it for them to say, this is why, like it could be the right portfolio. It could be the right approach, right? But if you can't clearly say, this is why I'm making this recommendation, like to that client in Zach's example, like this is exactly why this is the right thing for you based on everything I know today. And this is how we're going to adjust it over time. And that's why it matters. The framework itself is only in place for that reason at the beginning. It's there so that it makes sense and you can clearly and concisely explain it to someone who doesn't understand this that well and answer follow-up questions about it.
Yeah, every logic point you connect back to.
No. Go.
Rant. Every logic point that you can connect back to of, I figured out these 10 things rather than this one thing. And now on the other side, here's this here's this complete, somewhat complex output on the other side. And here's the 10 lines connected to each other. That feels so good as a consumer because you're doing 2 things. You're proving how much you asked and how much you understood, which feels really, really good. And then it feels so logical and obvious then that this is the thing that I should be in, right? This makes sense because you asked all these questions, got the answers, connected the dots to these outputs.
Absolutely. So, okay. So, let's recategorize those things because I mean, it's all fertile, but again, there's a difference between your viewpoint, what you help versus somebody say hiring a practice management consultant. It's totally different. So you in your audit, right? So you're auditing like an auditor at Scientology, right? They have to hold on to a thing and they have to go see Xenu and like, I'm not throwing shade on Scientologists. That's okay.
That's our exact process.
Right. You got to go in there, Dianetics, everybody has to read it and it's great. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. Everybody has their thing, right? But what are those main topics? Cause we're getting closer to our time because we'll then set up for probably our trilogy for the next time we talk. So,
I'll concisely say it. And I'll tie it back to what I was saying before. So it's what Zach said. What are you asking specific to the portfolio? So what discovery are you doing? What data are you extracting from that discovery? How does that tie to the portfolio? And how does it tie to the experience around delivering the portfolio recommendation and everything going forward in the experience regarding the portfolio? We have them map that out as much as they clearly can, if they can. Some of them can't, that's totally fine. We start with like what is working, what isn't working. We start earlier in the process. The reason I bring up, do your clients like it, is because when you're working with us, the point is to get it to a place, like to build the infrastructure to say, now we can repeat it and now we can eventually scale it if we want to. And you don't want to scale something that sucks. So the reason it's important to know is because you could give us your framework and we could go implement it and it could go horribly wrong because now you've made it possible to repeat something that isn't working anyway. It's kind of like creating an ad campaign and running an ad campaign on messaging that doesn't work. Now you're just dumping money into this. So that's why we do the discovery. We are not practice management consultants, but we definitely do discovery around, is this driving value now? And is it attracting and retaining the customers that you want? Because if not, then don't come try to scale with seats. You know what I mean? There's no reason to do that. We could help you fix it and we could like start slower. You know what I mean? We could build this together, but we're not going to have you come in and be like, I just want this to scale. If you and your clients are misaligned, I guess is the point.
Well, okay. So building to scale is very, very, very important because scale doesn't mean that you have to go from 100 million to 200 to whatever. Scale just means that, like what you said before, Kelsey, that if I'm not here, can we still perform and do for the interests and goals and so forth of this client? Not just can we run them through an operations process. And why that's very, very important. So if we have advisors listening in, we'll say that are perhaps thinking about how do they get off this crazy thing. Okay. A friend of mine, I'll send a shout out and we'll make sure we tag it. If you guys know Josh Bartholomew over the Blue Spring, I don't know if you guys know Josh. So Josh does a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and he helps work out the deals. Used to be with Horizon, then they sold that. He's doing great. We love Josh. But he said, he goes, the problem that he has, I shouldn't say that he has, but what he said is that when advisors and teams go to do their valuation and they say, hey, look at us, look how great we are. We've got 150, 200 million in management, and it went up to 250 because of how great we are. When you look under the hood, it actually ends up being nothing to do with true organic growth. They're saying, oh, we grew by 30% and but it has all market movements, has nothing to do with organic growth. And what he says is that, look, if you can't justify that you are actively able to repeat that process, repeat who you are, repeat what you're doing for these clients, the valuation isn't that great. Like, it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, everybody, somebody will cut you a check for something, right? But if you can take your process to what you're saying, Kelsey, of that engagement, that investment, you systematize that, you turn it into SOP, you work with seeds to get that figured out. Well, now you've really got something extra. So it's not just you have a line through operations. You have a line of that client experience, what they're feeling, how they've responded to it, tied to what you've created as your process. That's big value because they'll just disappear.
And it's not impossible. Like, this was the point I was going to say when Zach answered your other question. It's not impossible to do this without seeds. It's just the tech in this industry wasn't built for that. You have to tie it all together yourself. So I think Seed's goal is to make it easier to connect all of these dots across that experience in the front, like in front of the client, but also operationally behind the scenes. Those two things go together, as we discussed last time. So I think that's why it's so challenging, is because a lot of tools were built for like maximum flexibility. You know what I mean? So it's on the firm to be like operational geniuses to connect all of this together behind the scenes and then turn it into like a really great experience in front of the client that's repeatable.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so we're running up on time here for this one. I'll tell you what, I think, Kelsey, I think you had the last word last time, I think. I might be wrong.
I always have
I
the
listen
last
to
word
it and then I
in
don't
these
listen to it.
podcasts.
Okay. All right. So last word in terms of that engagement, and then how about a preview? What do you guys want to dig into next time? Because like I said, we're going to do this. We're going to do 3 of these.
I feel like we're actually going, we're following the connected dots. In other words, we've talked about what is that input-output framework when you do discovery around investment management to what should a portfolio outcome be. Kelsey touched on a second ago, and maybe we can go deeper on what do you then actually talk about in the moment of proposal of a portfolio? What do you then talk about in a review meeting when you're talking about someone's invested money? What do you talk about in between those moments? Everybody's sending out the exact same PDF about the Strait of Hormuz and what it's doing in markets right now. Which clients would actually read that document? And what other pieces of content might you want to send in between reviews? So I think the rest of the experience steps across the journey with clients around their invested money. And then the operational pieces, like what does it mean to actually never, one of the things that advisors also get hung up on is if I'm not holding all the levers around trading on an ongoing basis, in my relationship with my client, will they value me? Because that's part of where the value comes from, is I'm the one behind the scenes pulling all these levers and raising cash and doing all these things. What if that's not actually where the value comes from? And what could you do if you weren't doing any of that and you were sort of optimizing what's going on behind the scenes from a back office perspective?
Absolutely. We have a phrase here. So even though you had the last word, we'll say what we're going to be talking about going into is something we hold near and dear to our heart here at the Rosby Brands, is that cost to value ratio. Okay, so that's what we're getting into, is that what is the client getting? Cost to value ratio, cost plus, as you could say in Japan, cost plus, the make it better, make it wonderful. They're paying for it. Give the people what they want. So that's great. Great show.
I like
great
it.
show,
Thank you so
everybody.
much for
Great
having
show.
us. This is so fun.
Thank you.
Okay, before you go, how about some contact information, Kelsey and Zach?
Yeah, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can email me. I realized last time I didn't give my email, but my email is just kelsey@useeds.com.
But like,
no, I want people to email me.
But like nowadays, everybody is really directing. Everybody says, just go to my LinkedIn. Do you notice that, RJ? Everybody's like, just go.
Yes.
Well, because then you'll see me. You'll know it's me. We can be connected face-to-face virtually.
Won't be a bot on your email.
Yeah, won't be a bot on my email. But you can email me too if you're more comfortable emailing me. Text me, whatever. Get in touch.
Or the first name only club
That's how long I've been here.
of our emails.
Yeah, but useeds.com is our website. So also go to our website if you want to learn more, if you want to talk about your own personal, investment journey. We love talking about it, as you can tell. We would run long on these every time if given the opportunity.
We're not running long. We're running great.
All right, Zach, your contact info?
Same. Find me on LinkedIn, useeds.com. And feel free to email me. It's Zach, ZACH @useeds.com.
Sounds good. Andrew, your contact info.
All right. Now this time we're going to change it up. So I want everybody. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn for sure, but go check out our refreshed Rosby Office website at ouroffice.team. We've been making some real big changes, some advancements there. We just had a post. Greer Rubling has joined us recently as our transition expert. So if somebody's looking for an outsourced transition team, we've got that. But we are just, it's been really great. So I'd love to direct everybody. Go check out the letter R, ouroffice.team. Rosby Office. I'm clever, so I call it our office. ouroffice.team. Come on over.
All right. Thank you. Kelsey, Zach, Andrew, appreciate your time. And thank you for listening to the Outstanding Shift podcast. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. This way, when Andrew and his team comes out with a new podcast, it will show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review because this actually helps others find it. Again, thank you for listening. And for Andrew, I'm RJ Malik, and we look forward to you joining us for the next Outstanding Shift podcast.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Outstanding Shift. Don't forget to hit the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our websites at www.ouroffice.team, www.rossbyfinancial.com, or give us a call at 321-209-0111. The information provided in this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.